speaker will be talking on understanding content distribution and realities of ancillary distribution, how producers can generate revenue after cinema release. This will be presented by Shile Ipironke, or the CEO of Micromedia Marketing. Shile, please come forward. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashile Ipironke, and like she said, I'm the chief servant at Micromedia Limited. And recently, we are a TV drama series production firm. We have evolved to become so many things. Our recent product offering is owning our own cinema halls as an exhibiting hall. We just launched Heritage Cinemas on Friday, and that's a novel idea. That's an interesting space that we were playing in. So I would just like to take us, my presentation is very short. I think they gave too much information, but quite insightful, very interesting. So Micromedia, these are two of our productions, Ogene Kome and Casino. I'd like to take us through how to understand the distribution, the model that we have worked in that has become pretty successful for us. Next slide, please. Now, more than often, I like to explain to everyone who is into content production. When I mean content production, it could be film, it could be drama series, it could be short form, like they said, like a skit or anything. We must understand, and you're coming from Africa, maybe like Nigeria, you must understand that I like to position Nigeria as the African dream, the way the American dream was. The fact that if you're producing, you should understand that you're producing for every human who is of black ethnic origin in the world. And that's how I like to position the target audience. For any content we're producing in Micromedia, that's exactly how we position it from the outset. And then you see the African man or anyone of African origin, it's in the urban, rural, and most of them are also in diaspora. And we see large strengths coming out of the diaspora today. And that's one of the reasons why our music has traveled, has become really universal. That's because of the strength of what we have as Africans all over the world. Now, this is the current film distribution landscape that I understand for Nigeria, and maybe that also applies to Africa. The fact that after the cinema release, the next step is to go to the paid TV or the OTT platform. That's either Netflix or Mnet. And afterwards, then you go into DVD. I think that's very limiting, and that's what I want to explain. The fact that you need to open up the channels. Distribution is the key factor to any success of anything you want to do. And if you go to the next slide, like I said, so my presentation will be very, very interactive. I would like to, for anyone to ask me direct questions or create inputs in between what I'm saying. If you look at the global distribution landscape or where you can generate revenue from, there are about 6 of them. This is the first of it. The first one sits in the cinema. That's the fact that when you have your box office release. Preceding your box office release or alongside, complementing your box office release, you should have private screenings. Those are areas that you can generate money from. You can have private screenings. Brands can take up your new movie to own to showcase to their, like banks can take it to their HNI, that's their iNetwork individuals or their customers that they want them to see it. And afterwards, once you come out of box office, you can begin to do community cinema releases. That's especially if your film has the social costs to it. So you can go to specific communities, sign up with maybe NGOs or institutions like maybe Alliance Française and all of that to begin to distribute your movie. And then you can have segmented cinema releases. That's you can go to the campuses. There are lots of brands that want inroads into the campus today, and those are areas that you can feature in. And then you can also go to maybe secondary school, high schools, and so that's just in the cinema space alone. You're still within showcasing from a projection. Now, when they say cinema, it's actually projection. The exhibiting hall is the one that, you know, you have the slides sitting. And that necessarily doesn't have to be in a cinema hall. It could just, projection can happen from anywhere. Next will be OTT. And like they said earlier, the OTT is over the top. You can have your product, your film or drama series, distributed on TVOD. TVOD means transaction VOD, transaction video on demand. That's Amazon Prime and Apple TV. And those platforms are becoming strong. They're becoming more African-based. They truly want African content. They're going around seeking which areas they should invest in. And I tell you that content, and mainly content from Nigeria, is seen as a strength for content for Africa. So we can, you can go through that route. SVOD is subscription VOD. That will be Netflix, Filmbox, and iFlix. I'm just giving you different examples of those channels that you can distribute. You can, most importantly, you need to begin to speak to them preceding the release itself, so that it becomes, you begin to make your sales preceding your release. It's not when the movie is in the cinema that you now begin to talk to an executive at Amazon. All of that should begin to play before you actually do a release. And then AVOD, that's the advertising VOD platform. My people from VooClip, they're here. They are a strong AVOD platform. Then UGC, that's the user-generated content platform, which is YouTube, Facebook. I don't have to dwell so much. The earlier speaker really educates. He gave us like a bit of consulting training on all of this. Then you can do in-flight. In-flight is becoming very strong these days. The executive lounge, because they see that there's a lot of traffic coming from African travelers, and the African travelers, they want their own kind of content. If you're on Emirates, at every point in time, you have the ability to watch Nigerian content, and I know the Air France is doing the same thing. And then you can do in-flight screening. If you remember, would it be The Bridge? One of Kunle Afolayan's movie was actually the CEO. The first release was on an Air France flight. So all of those things, those are channels, and they do generate revenue. In the chain of affairs of revenue generation, you need to draw up a pie chart. I know a lot of us really are stuck on what my box office release make. I must tell you that your content is forever, is in perpetuity, and you must understand that every minute and every month, that content must generate revenue for you. And the fact that you've produced it, and the fact that it's Africa, and the fact that you have Africans all over the world, that means that there's an opportunity for you to be in any of these spaces, and more of these spaces at every month, every day. Those opportunities are there. Next slide, please. Connected devices. That will be, if your content can be preloaded on mobile device, like Samsung, like iPhone. A market for this will be the mobile market, the one that happens in Vegas, Nevada. There are lots of these mobile phone producers who are looking for how to engage more, localizing their products. If you know, they've done that for music. The next stage is going to be for movies. They're already talking to quite a lot of people to have pre-connected content on the mobile phone before it comes to you in Africa. So those are channels that we can distribute our content. Smart television screens. LG is going to do so much in terms of integrating African content before they sell the TV to you. Because, they've reached a stage of like an utilization spot where it's law of diminishing returns. Everybody most likely has a TV now in their house. So what is the next catch for them? Would it come with the biggest, with the new content that you haven't seen before? Would that be your, the incentive to buy? So those are areas that they are also all exploring. And as a content owner, you must understand that if the content owner is just in the right pendulum of affairs right now, because everyone is going through the content route. Everyone wants a piece of the pie of what we want. And for us in Micromedia, we've realized that the juice in all of this is the fact that we're from Africa and the fact that we have Africans all over the world. Then gaming and app world. From this, I figured out that it looks like that may not come, that may not happen. But I must tell you that movies these days, we can take games out, we can take gaming activities out of it. While I was doing my presentation, I thought about, you remember the robbery scene at wedding party, the first wedding party? It was where you had the RMD, sorry, it was Ali, it was Sambisa, yeah, that did that was the robber. But when Ali Baba and Tintin entered, it was, it was very interesting. We can create a game out of that, and you'll be shocked at the kind of downloads that it would have, because we can resonate with the movie itself at the same time. And that's why you look at games like Angry Birds becoming movies now. So that mix is happening because they're sold out in that gaming world. We can generate our own mix from the content that we're producing, take elements from the content that we're producing and begin to create them into gaming world. Because the next generation of Nigerians, the next generations of African, I'm talking about children we're giving birth to, they would not watch live action. They would do more gaming because we've given them too much of Cartoon Network. We've given them too much of animation. That's the world they would be part of. And you have to start now. You need to begin to walk in that direction, understanding, like we said, the target audience is very important. And who that target audience is, what they do, their psychographics, who they are, how they want to be. Do you want to be a new generation? Do you want to raise a new generation, or you want to stay with your existing generation? If you keep on staying with the existing generation, the law of living and dying would happen. They would go one day, and then you have lost a whole segment of people that we should have grown with. So we need to open up our mind and understanding. I put DVD at the bottom of the affairs because I see that a lot of us, DVDs, we jump into DVD. But I must tell you that the landscape ahead of all of these are much more, they generate more revenue. And those revenues that, we talk about foreign currency, very important in this our age and time. Those revenue, they don't come in local currencies. They're streams, they come in as much as it looks like how little they are, they come in, and then they give validity to your content. You realize that you find out that your content has traveled far and beyond. Currently for us in Micromedia now, we've covered 40 countries in Africa. We've covered North America, we've covered so many territories. And we're not limited by what we've covered. We're still pushing, opening up new channels. What else are the new things that we need to do? Next slide, please. So I did a footprint, a global distribution footprint. I did for Africa, and I did for the rest of the world. Africa, I broke it down into 4 language-speaking territories. And for you to understand what those territories deliver to you, there's Anglophone. And when I mean Anglophone, the fact that you are in Nigeria, the MNO, that's the mobile network operator in Nigeria that you might be working with, maybe you're working with Airtel. If you go to Ghana, that's a different country, a different sovereign nation. The network operator you might have to work with in Ghana may be Glo. That's revenue generation for you. So you can imagine what you can make across all those different platforms in 24 countries with your one content. The same way goes for the Francophone nations. And I see that a lot of, is a territory that more people are very, very interested in. But the territory that, disposable income is very, very low. Extremely low. Why are you nodding? And you need to understand pricing from that angle. The fact that you might not generate so much. I know that a lot of people are putting too much trust in it. But I tell you, don't be shocked. And one of the biggest shocker that comes from that territory is that the largest buyer, which is Aplu, has just acquired a local Nigerian company who would then be producing all their content for them. What that means is that the content producer who wants to go into that region, you might not even take out of that juice. You might not even be able to reap from that cake that happened maybe 2, 3, or 4 years ago. And the other territories, that's the TV platforms and all of that, they don't buy so much. They don't have too much money to buy. But more importantly is the ability for you to spread across all these networks. I think OTT, the fact that OTT is coming to play strong, has become a very, very, very veritable opportunity. So we don't just limit ourselves to pay TV networks and and FTA networks, that's the free-to-air networks. And then we have the Portuguese, that's Portuguese countries are the 6 countries. And then we have Arab Africa. All of these countries, they have their own peculiarity in terms of content. Like for us, when we release Ogenekome in Nigeria, we release it as Ogenekome. In the rest of Africa, we release it as Broken, because they don't understand the traditional language. So we had to read, in some territories, we even released it as Broken Hearts, because it would be more enduring to them to understand. And sometimes you have to even rearrange your content to fit into what exactly the viewer or the consumer in that territory would watch. When we launched out in the Portuguese country, we actually recreated our content because we didn't want to give so much large numbers because of the fact that disposable income in that territory too is not so high. So we had to really reformat our content, and then we started having new titles from those content. And having new titles from those content has given us opportunity now to be in more platforms. There are more limited releases. They give us more opportunity to open up more channels. They just ordinarily, it's like taking juice out of an old wine and turning it into something new to distribute with. So the opportunities are, they're endless. You just have to know where to play in. And when you say the North America, Caribbean countries, large number of, they love Nigerian content. One of the ways we got to reach with the Caribbean countries was via, sending them letters and sending our programs to them. Sometimes you have to give some of them for free, for starters, just so that, it's like a carrot and rabbit option. So when you've taken the best part of that rabbit, you know that you need more, then you pay for more of it. Another way is the African migration to Central Europe, Scandinavian countries. Middle East and Asia is strictly OTT because they know that they're, the Africans there, they don't have the large number of data to support it. But they know they're there, so the OTT platforms are acquiring for those territories. Next slide, please. Now, so I also did the realities of the ancillary distribution. One of the key factors that turn people off, that turn a lot of players out from acquiring African content is the quality of our production. It's not because your story is not good. It's not because maybe the grading doesn't look good. It's because maybe the audio is just, it won't fly. And that's one of the things why there are huge rejections for a lot of African content. And the fact that I think the world has moved on. We must sell our content the way the Americans sell their content. I know a large number of us have visited America and realized that, it's as if they sold us a fake dream. When you get to that America, you realize that some of them even look as if you're in Lagos, Nigeria. That's the honest truth. That's the honest truth. But how they've packaged the content over the years, sorry, you're smiling. They've packaged the content over the years and made it, they've sold us a lie. And that's what we need to do. We need to do the same thing. We're not selling a lie, we're selling beauty, glory. Sell the best parts of Nigeria. When you're filming, don't film barbed wires. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't film dirty roads. There are greens everywhere. Frame your video, your production against a leaf background. The crown of tongue plants all over Lagos. Don't just film a road that is untarred. Yes, we know we have roads that are untarred. There are a lot of roads that are untarred in London if you go to the inner cities. Let's be truthful. So box office records, ratings, and sales also determine how they buy. They want to understand how it has, what the performance of your content has been locally. So you need that data. It's very, very important. M&E, that's the music and effect. That's what I was talking about, audio production. M&E allows you, and after this, I'm going to show you a video of how our content has been able to, transit all over, to large parts of the world. Your final mix is very, very important. As you're doing your final mix, you must be doing your music and effects, separating it. Once you separate it, you can dub any language on it. That content becomes the live person is the only one talking, it becomes as many languages as possible. And that's the key sale. That's the American content. You know, they said Black Panther or Avengers made so much money. The amount of money they made in China can't be quantified to what they made in local America. But they will never sell, they will never feature, you're not into, they would never feature Black Panther in English language in China. It was dubbed to Chinese language. If you go to Thailand, the same thing. So that's why they make so much money in Asia. Too much money. Box office releases in Asia is larger than even what's it called, local American box office record. Technical specification of the licensee is also a major factor. If the licensee has told you to give him in MOV, don't give him in MP4. Don't do it. What that sells is that you are incompetent. It doesn't even make you. And a lot of times they want it wrapped in different formats because that's exactly what their play-out video can play. So you need to understand all those things. You need to understand it's a bit technical, but you need to go through that route. We might be having a success story today. We've also lost too much money not adhering to one of our major licensees' specification. We lost too much money in hundreds of thousands, I must tell you. And it wasn't paid back to us of US dollars. We did lose that amount. Yes, we did. Just because we did not follow the format. And it was rejected. And and because we already had the contractual agreement, we were bound by that contractual agreement to deliver that content. But that was a major learning point. Don't do whack. Don't do it. Don't go, if you want to dub in French, do not go to an English country and gather. Maybe you get domestic people from Benin Republic to start to speak. Not that they don't speak French, but French is even in different format. There's elitist French. There's Parisian French. My friend from France is saying yes. You cannot dub French from Cameroon. It would not be accepted. It would not, neither can you dub French from Togo. If you dub French in Congo, you're only going to sell to the DRC. That's the honest truth. So the quality of that language dubbing is very, very important. Then you must understand the importance of now. The novelty of your content is very important. That is if it was released 2018, you must replicate it in all territories within 12 months. Extremely important. Because the minute that, there's supply all over the place, and our contents are getting better and better by the day. People are producing great content, extremely great content. And the same thing is pricing. I mentioned pricing earlier when I was talking about the French and the Francophone regions. Understanding that you're not going to blow immediately from one sale. That money will not just come. So you have to be able to, adapt to so many pricing structures. And if you're able to do that, it becomes a big bowl of funds that, would work for you. Can we take that video now before we go to the next slide? In that video, I'm going to show one of our scenes in 3 different languages.
So I should replace the doorbell with a car horn or something, right?
I'm sorry, Vinny. I was just about getting the door. Sorry.
Busy, I can see. Or maybe you're just too lazy to get yourself up.
Patrick.
I'm wondering if this is meant for me or my dogs.
And if I've wronged you in any way, I'm sincerely sorry. But it's really nothing.
You know what? I'm fed up. I am tired of this miserable marriage. I can't take this anymore.
Patrick!
I'd rather get something decent to eat.
You and I were meant to be together, baby.
Patrick!
Qu'est-ce que ton mari doit faire pour que tu daignes venir lui ouvrir la porte quand il sonne?
Oh chérie, je suis désolée. J'allais justement venir t'ouvrir. Excuse-moi.
Occupée à ce que je vois. Ou plutôt trop paresseuse pour te lever.
Patrick!
Je me demande si ce repas est pour moi ou pour mes chiens.
Chérie, si j'ai fait quoi que ce soit qui t'ait vexé, je m'en excuse vraiment, mais ça n'a rien à voir.
Tu sais quoi, j'en ai marre. Rien ne va plus entre nous et tu le sais. Ce mariage est une catastrophe. Je vais aller me trouver un repas digne de ce nom.
Patrick!
This is the Portuguese version.
Então eu deveria substituir com uma buzina do carro.
Desculpa, amor, eu já estava para abrir a porta, desculpa.
Ocupada, dá para ver. Ou talvez espreguiçosa demais para se levantar.
Patrick,
E eu me pergunto se isto é para mim ou para meus cães.
querido, se eu fiz algo de errado, sinceramente eu peço desculpas, mas não há mais...
Sabes o que estou farto? Eu estou cansado deste casamento miserável. Eu já não aguento mais.
Patrick!
Prefiro buscar outra coisa para comer.
You and I were meant to be together, baby.
Patrick!
Thank you. So if you notice that the music balancing is the same across all the 3 different languages, it's just the dialogue that changed. So it gives it uniformity, it gives it, it's just the same content that you can preview everywhere. That's basically what I would like to share, and I'm happy that everyone has learned from this short presentation.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. I think this has been a very interesting presentation that we've just had, especially for those of us who have a TV background. I'm sure some people may know that I have a full-time job besides organizing events in distribution, and that is why I am sitting down, because everything she said, I've worked with virtually everybody on this panel in terms of content monetization and distribution, and trying to help independent producers to monetize their content across several territories, especially the scripted format content, TV series, and different genre. Yesterday we were talking mostly about feature films, but you know that beyond feature films, we also have other genre of content. Feature film is just one genre, right? And so when you're looking at the other genre of content, you have the other scripted shows, TV series, telenovelas, cooking shows, gaming, documentaries, and so on and so forth. So this morning, we are trying to understand how producers, a lot of producers, after cinema, they are lost. Lost in the sense that they don't know what next to do. So I always find myself in that situation where producers are calling me and telling me, okay, now we are outside of cinema, and you can imagine or you can guess that they didn't make the kind of revenue that they had, that they expected. But today we are sitting with people who are not playing in the cinema space, because I believe that I spoke with a producer yesterday, and she said to me that cinema gave her the platform she needed, right? Chile here has never put any movie out in the cinema. I can tell you that for free. But clearly, you can see that she has also found a business model that is working for her. To have distributed her TV series in 40 countries. And I can tell you that out of that 40 countries, at least she has gone to maybe how many? Or at least 20. That is a lot of work. So, is that your space as a producer? Do you want to do international business? Or you are okay with doing local business, going to cinema and releasing your films, and maybe licensing to those who are locally here in Nigeria? Is that what you want to do? So it's very, very important. You can't do everything. Trust me. In all the major markets that we all go to, I mean, almost everybody here we meet in different places, maybe in France and all that. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and you're going to all those things. You're building your networks over time, and so is that actually, and it costs a lot of money as well. I was telling some people yesterday that some of the events, just for you to go in and do business for 3 days, you pay over $500,000 in Naira, just for 3 days, just this badge you're wearing. So for you to go there, you must be sure that you know what you're going to do. It's not fanfare, it's not sightseeing, it's all purely business. You talk and you work from morning till night. That's it. Just because you know that you have to justify. So if she's telling you that she's sold in over 40 countries, you also need to understand the legwork that is involved in building those connections. Because now what she has done successfully is to build a pipeline where if she produces, all she needs to do is send her marketing kit to all these her clients in different countries. And then they come back and say, okay, your previous content did so well for us on the channel. Let's see how we can also acquire your next slate of content. And that's why you see in America, they have what they call output deals, right? Output deals show for the next 3 years, they are buying from a particular producer. Everything that he's producing, they've not seen it, but because of previous records, they're able to do that. So I just want you to understand, to give a background of what we're trying to discuss this morning, right? To help also producers to understand that beyond cinema, beyond Moses sitting next to me, there is a life for your content. So you don't have to be heartbroken. I'm trying to be nice today to Moses. Yes. So I think it's very important for us to share some of this knowledge, because it's like we're so fixated with cinema. And you can see someone who has built a business model without cinema. It's not, maybe, by the way, she just opened a cinema. Can we put our hands together for her? So, starting from TV series, production, and now going into cinema. So maybe she's going to replace Moses very soon. Yes. So we're going to go straight into the discussions. And I want to start with Moses. Moses also does a lot. Yeah. Because I used to ask him, how do you do it? Managing producers is one of the most difficult jobs. I have sat in that seat, and I don't envy him. Because you owe them explanation on why they are not making money, whether you like it or not, as their distributor. Yes, you owe them that explanation. You don't send reports to producers. When I was content acquisitions, when I was in distribution, you don't send empty reports to producers. It's a nightmare for me. When I get those reports, it's time for me to send quarterly reports to them, and I see there's no money. It's a nightmare. Because it's not looking good. These guys, you've told them that, oh, you're going to take their content, oh, we're going to put in flight, blah, blah, blah. And then after 3 months, 6 months, you're still not making money. It's very tough. It's not because the producer's success is our success as distributors. That's the truth. So we also need that money. So from outside, we're talking outside cinema now, Moses. So I just want you to, throw some light on what your experience has been. There are different, thanks to OTT, the technology guys sat here just before us. We are the content people, right? We're not into, because you must understand your space. So the technology guys have sat down, and they've also helped us understand what OTT is doing to create opportunities for content producers. So now, the future is now. What outside of cinema, what are the things that producers need to understand? What are the channels, and how do they prepare themselves to run in that space?
All right, thank you very much. And it's great to be here again. Good morning, everyone. I thought by changing from native to corporate wear, maybe I think we'll stop the name calling. But thank you, and I think it's a very interesting discourse to have today. And you are right. There is a lot of focus and a lot of emphasis on cinema distribution, and I think maybe for the right reasons, because for too long, we never really had a structured environment for distribution or releasing our films, where it's very democratic. It's as democratic as it comes. Very transactional, very much about the content and about its appeal to the audience, and because of the market size. So, obviously there is that tendency to be like, what, there are 200 million people. Even if I don't do 200 million people, I could do 5 million people, 5 million tickets, for example. And if you multiply that by the average ticket price and you got a share of that, that would probably, that could, return your investment very, very quickly. So one can understand why there is a propensity to want, theatrical, release for your films. But we know the reality. Not all films, can make it to the cinema. And I think that's one of the things that has to come, with our transitioning, or our evolution as an industry. So in the last 5 years, there's been massive, massive growth and massive interest, particularly on the local content side. But what's also happened in that last 5 years is that there are digital distribution outlets for our films, and it's a kind of vicious cycle where the value of your content on those digital platforms has some kind of relation to how well your film has done in cinema. So again, that's what causes the pressure for everyone to go to cinema. In fact, some buyers, make it a point of duty to ask you first, was it released in cinema? Because it's almost like it's used to gauge how popular and how accepted. A lot of content acquisition executives in a lot of the platforms also want some kind of preliminary work done for them. So it's harder, for you to go through a lot of films, and want to start watching, coupled with all the other things you need to do to keep your, platform running. So typically that's what, causes, the pressure on cinema. And I thought to give that context, just to let us understand that it's understandable. What is going on is understandable. But as we go on, we need to be aware and educated of, the the alternatives that exist. And our sister here is a very great example. And there have been films, for example, that have not been to cinema and have been very, very successful. Nia Kimolayo's film, I don't know if anybody heard about Meet the In-Laws. Meet the In-Laws, did, over, 100% ROI in about 12 to 18 months without going to cinema. In fact, it was even nominated for an, AMVCA award. So that is emerging. But I think that why people have not known is that it's really exploded in the last 2-3 years, where we are now accessing beyond local, platforms. We're now accessing international platforms. So for example, the likes of iTunes, the likes of Amazon, the likes of Google Play, the likes of Netflix have come into the environment and are now licensing our films. Just to summarize, so that I'll let others speak, I think filmmakers need to do a lot of work, or would I say do some extra work, just finding out and seeking out distributors that have gotten or have these relationships with these platforms. This summit is a very good showcase, and you hear from other panelists that have platforms. A lot is going on outside of cinema, and you can actually make film investments without having cinema in mind. It's a good aspiration, but it doesn't have to go to cinema. There are enough outlets, and just to also summarize, digital outlets, VOD and SVOD and TVOD, subscription and transactional. It's very important to understand the windows. It's very important to understand the rights. it's very important that as you are seeking to, pay back your investors, you don't also sell yourself short. There's sometimes that you go in and you sign exclusive deals, and it's very difficult to exploit the film further down the line. In-flight rights are still there. It's not for everyone. They also depend on the matrix from cinema. And then the DVD places, some people still find a way to do direct-to-consumer. A lot of the digital platforms also do EST, electronic sell-throughs, that's priced even more expensive than DVDs, and there are good numbers coming from them. So there are a number of platforms that are emerging. You need the right people that understand the terminologies, that understand the legal framework, that understand the payments to help you out. Yes, producers can do it directly, but I always suggest go for the experts that understand the lingo and understand the terrain very well.
Thank you. Before I go to the next speaker, I think it's very important to say this. As a producer, you should always let your content stand out, right? So if you send me a catalog that has 20, 30 TV series, I know the producers that I won't even need to screen their content, and I'm going to select it because I know it will always they will always deliver. Very important. So recently, I did an acquisitions for a client, and they sent me a catalog that had about 40 TV series. And I went back to them and said, guys, you're the ones that produce this. Make my work easy, right? I don't have time to screen 40. Besides, I need the history. You know what did well? And they came back to me with 10, yeah? And they said, all these 10, they won awards. That is what I want. That makes my job easy. So if you juxtapose that with getting information also on cinema numbers, how many, how much it makes. Everybody needs those kind of information. They want to know. Acquisition executives need that information because they are busy. You can't send, if I get a catalog of 100 films, for instance, for Hollywood, I'm going to ask the salesperson, please, tell me the ones that are doing well. You have been selling these things over time. So you can see out of 100 that there are 1, 2, 3 that are recurrent decimals because their content have been proven to be outstanding. So as a producer, I wouldn't want my content to be in Film One catalog, and then Film One sends it out, and they screen it, and they come back and they say, no, they don't want my content. There are some content that I can bet on it, that anywhere you go to, anybody you send it to, they will always want it. These are people in different countries, and I ask myself, why are they always choosing this particular film? There is something this producer is doing right. That anywhere independently, without having any conversation with each other, they are always going for this particular movie. So I just thought it's important to mention that to producers. Don't just produce for the sake of producing. Always have that in mind. Who are you producing for? Right? Moses talked about distribution. Shilola is a producer / distributor. She's self-distributing. And there's a lot of, investments in self-distributing. It's not easy. She has a team, and I always see her. She sends them to different countries. I see them. How many producers are ready to do that? She doesn't go anymore. She sends her people. Go to Abidjan, go to Johannesburg, go. She doesn't go. So how many producers are ready to be able to have those kind of structures in place? So Shile, I just want you to also, help producers understand that when you want to self-distribute, what are the structures that you need to have in place? Because obviously, you have a full structure in place, marketing structure, distributing structure, and also a back-end office. So it's important for them to also understand how it works, that it's not just you coming out to tell us you distribute in 40 countries. No, it sounds very good to the ears, but what is the work that has gone in for you to be able to achieve that?
Okay. First of all, you must strategically pick the markets you want to go to. Quite a lot of people jump into the flight and go to MIP. MIP is not an African market. You might not make the right sales there. There are key markets that when you go to, like I said, first of all, you must cover Africa. Once you've covered Africa, One of the selling points for us was the fact that our first acquisition network was Africa Magic. Africa Magic is mostly in all African countries, so it was more or less like a soft sell. Being when the person in Kenya sees it, oh, I saw this on Africa Magic, then you know. And the fact that, like she said, the quality of the content. So for us, exports was much more important than local viewership. If you happen to see any of our content, I'm sure when she was saying that there's some content that when she sends to, she also distributes for us. When they put them on, when they're trying to evaluate the content, there's none of my content that will go outside, or the content from Micromedia that will go outside that would not be first chosen. Your first 5 would actually be a Micromedia content when it comes to drama series, anywhere in African continent, or if you're taking them out today. It's not like we're bragging, reason being that we do a lot of work to cream the content. Yeah. Extremely important. We do VFX, visual effects. If there's been an environment where there's been so much that we couldn't even, work on the sky and all of that, we treat it internally. We recreate some scenes so that it can meet any standard. For us, you see the Mexican novellas, and my experience in selling Mexican novellas locally in Nigeria gave me the full understanding of what works. You can never watch any of those Mexican novellas, even in their sleep, their makeup is on point. Someone is going inside the house, she's wearing heels. The color is bad, it's too good. Those were the elements we put in place. The content itself would sell. Once they say it, when we launched Taste of Love and the opening, this thing looked like music. The opening, the montage, it was done for that purpose. If you put it out there, oh, this is, yes, we know it's beautiful, bye. That's it.
Thank you so much. So I move on to Mr. Patrick Nebo. You've done quite a lot in recent times to push Nigerian content in French-speaking Africa, and you've spoken severally in Lagos here about what your company is doing. So now, for a lot of producers are interested in the Francophone Africa, but like Sheila said, it's not. There's a lot of work in terms of dubbing, and I'm happy our partners Hiventi represent. Yes, they are here, and the reason why they are here is because they see opportunity. They've opened office here in Lagos, and they are here to help producers to understand technical requirements. So now dubbing has been baptized to localization, right? So we're talking about localizing content as an avenue to make money. You watched a clip previously by Sheila where she showed us English version, French version, original English version, French version, and then Portuguese. So these are all the same content, right? But trying to push it across different territories. We looked at 24 Anglophone countries, 20-something Francophone countries, and then 6 Portuguese countries, right? So it's all one and same content. And we're talking about, she didn't mention the number of episodes, 200 episodes. Yeah, some of the titles are that much. So even if you, Francis, I'm coming back to you. So in Francophone, we realize that they do not have money in Burkina Faso, in Benin Republic, in Togo. These are guys that will offer you €50, and some producers will tell you, oh no, we are not interested. I can't send my content for free. But what's the reality of the market? That's my question.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's a very good question. In fact, your movies, Nigerian movies, can travel worldwide. And I think Shilola got a very quick executive presentation. Dubbing is a key issue. If you want your movie to travel and to go to different countries, to different languages, you have to have a proper music and effect separate tracks. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare. It's not only a nightmare, it's going to be costly and more, let's say, lengthy. So at the end of the day, the producers are not going happy. It's true that at the beginning, so far, we have been able to dub about 18 movies and subtitle digital 35, and we screen them. And there is one movie every month which is being released in French-speaking countries in Africa with Canal Olympia. Now, coming back to the subject, it's true that without having the dubbing facilities and having the ancillary rights, it's going to be very difficult to get a producer happy. So that's why I'm pleased with my friends here and the producers and everybody. It takes time. It takes 1 to 2 years for a movie to travel, let's say, from the moment it comes out in the cinemas in Nigeria, or if it doesn't even, because we agree there is also a life if we don't go on cinemas, then at the time it's going to be picked up on the pay TV, then it goes on OTT, then it goes on SVOD, on TVOD, and finally on DVD. And I want to say something. To be a distributor in France is a nightmare, and you have to be present in all films if you want to make the producer happy, yourself happy, and to make some money. This being said, I believe there is even room for improvement. Like, we have to break monopoly. For instance, when you fly on Air France and you watch an Hollywood movie with not even French subtitles or not even dubbed, then you are wondering what. Then you understand, and you go and you dig out, and you see that, in fact, it is a monopoly of the service provider, of the content provider to Air France, who is based in Hong Kong and used to be a KLM, and it doesn't bother. But I think we try to break into it. So definitely, it is by ancillary rights and a proper dubbing that your movie can travel. I heard yesterday, definitely would love to dub in Swahili and to get the wedding party or whatever movie you want to put and to release it into your countries or in the surrounding. 200 million people speaking Swahili, we cannot ignore. This is an additional market. It's huge, and it will bring money. I'm an old man. I believe first a movie has to be seen on a big screen. Otherwise, why don't do CinemaScope and 7.1? But however, you can release it in theaters, and I'm sure there is so many happening in because of the digital disruptive world. You have so many ways. Today, entertainment means accessibility. You want to consume anytime, anywhere, now on your computer. So it means that there is, for instance, if you look at Ivory Coast, new digital terrestrial network are coming up. They are going to take some Hollywood movies dubbed in French. Canal Plus pay TV for Africa. I'm so happy about it. It's not maybe big numbers, but you had 10 movies for 1 month in 40 countries, one movie every day, which was being broadcasted. And I think it's better than any, advertisement for your industries. So people are aware now that Nigeria got a top production, that they are improving on the quality. And I think the last mile to be done, and maybe with Eventy and some others, I think it's important to say for the French dubbing, it has to be French Parisian accent. French neutral accent, I would say, not Parisian, because a guy from Cameroon with the accent won't fly in Congo, and it won't make sense. So because of this internationalization, I believe there is room, really, to make more money with a proper dubbing, because then you can target. If you hit Brazil with Portuguese, then you are in the pot. Mexico is a bit more complicated. His cartel, mafia, we are holding everything. How? No, it's true. I was told. I tried, but they told me, Francis, you want to stay alive? No problem. But definitely, I believe today, your new hall is the cinema, and on top of it is dubbing. Then with this, you can really cross the boundaries. Even China, I don't know why our friends are here. We can dub in Chinese, no voila.
Yeah.
No, it's a big one.
Yes. I mean, if local content is being dubbed in Chinese now, why not? I mean, we're seeing on TV, films and different content, people speak in Chinese currently. So I think it's something that we need to all pay attention to. Thank you so much.
Last point, please, Mr. Producers, think before when you are shooting or doing these many tracks separate. It will make life easy.
Yes. 10
times easy, and you will get more money back.
And so it's very important you stay for the Eventy session, because that is the reason why they are here. They are here to make sure that they let us understand as producers. We have producers here, but we are also on the monetization side. But it's important that you understand the technicalities, because if we're sending out content and it's being rejected, it's not helping us. It takes at least 6 months sometimes to close a deal. So time is wasted. You ship hard drive, they send you back, you go all the back and forth. So if we're able to lay the right foundation in terms of getting our technical standards right, then we are sure that whatever we're pushing out, at least 80 out of 100, we're guaranteed of revenue. I think that's very important to say.
And I think the longer it takes to get your QC right, the older your content becomes. because your content is fighting with new content coming out regularly, particularly in Nollywood that is very prolific. And that affects the license value.
Yes.
You know, so very important about timing and getting, the quality control right.
Thank you so much. I'm sure, like I said, Hiventi, they're going to throw a lot of light on that. So, Daniel, you're an acquisitions executive, and you've done quite, substantial acquisitions on our content. What are the limitations that you see? What are the things that, you're talking to a lot of producers here that would want to go beyond Nigeria like Shilola has done successfully? What are the things that you have to say to them from an acquisitions perspective? Yes.
Okay. Actually, I've done distribution, I've done acquisition. Working for international studios, I was mainly selling content, now switching roles. So both sides of the coin. The major challenge for me in acquiring, last year alone, I acquired over 2,000 hours of Nollywood content. And the major challenge was the fact that, major thing, legal, proof of ownership of those content. The major challenge we're facing across the continent today is that people stealing other people's content to present them as their own. Some even go, it's so bad that you see the same content. I guess that's why they chose me as a Nigerian to oversee that, where I am, because, exactly. So you see the same content as a title, and the next thing you see the same content with another title, So that's a major challenge for us. And we've got issues even in Kenya where, the guy heading our acquisition team in Kenya had to be fired because we had a business with Safaricom. Somebody has put another person's content on Safaricom. The owner of the content went to social media attacking Safaricom directly, became a mess. And Safaricom, So the major issue is the legal aspect. I understand Nigeria legal environment is quite challenging in terms of, I was asking the corporate director general yesterday that how do we establish the proof of ownership of a content that is coming out of Nigeria? Because in South Africa, there's a body called CIPC, Companies Intellectual and Property Commission. Everything you want to do, hence in that company, you register your company, you register your IPs, trademark, your patent, even your copyright is registered with that same company. So for me, it makes my job easier. If I'm picking up a South African content, I can prove ownership by going to CIPC. In Nigeria, I can't prove ownership. So what happened is that I've been improvising in terms of, requesting for, proof of ownership. And let me tell you something. There's a nightmare I've been facing in the past few weeks, is that somebody actually did an affidavit. That's how bold Nigerians are. I look at this guy, I said, you could go to jail for this. He doesn't care, really. Because the courts don't even have record of the affidavits that they're issuing. The guy came to me with fake affidavits as proof of ownership of the content. And it became a conflict between himself and the distributor, actually. So it was resolved by the producer that literally sent me an email and said, this is the person I gave my content to. Really. So those are the challenges. That's why I would rather buy a content from a producer than from a distributor, I'm sorry to say. Because the producer will tell me, at least I know I'm dealing with the producer. And because I'm a Nigerian, I know who to hold. But people that are not Nigerians might not know who to hold, you understand? So that's the number one challenge. And the number two is that the delivery of those content. And I found, even, I'm sorry, I will mention names, CodeQuest, they're very big. I've had issues, even with CodeQuest. So the question, and I've seen people make comments saying, I was speaking to another distributor in South Africa whose content is owned by a Ghanaian lady living in US. And I was also, the lady got so good, the lady came to South Africa, we're having dinner, I took her out for dinner and all that. And I was saying, look, I'm buying this content, and she said, by the way, that is my content. I'm like, oh, your content. So she now asked me, where are you getting it from? I said, no, I'm getting it from so. She said, if you get it from them, you're in trouble, I'm going to sue you. Because they don't have right to that content. So I'm like, I was shocked. And this is a very, very notable distributor in South Africa. They are, I won't mention it. I don't want to, I'm going back home. We have xenophobia going on in South Africa. I want to be able to enter. So I'm sorry. So, these are issues that we face, So, as I was saying, the delivery of those content, and I've been advised a few producers that, listen, you need to build capacity in your business to be able to deliver the content directly to the person that wants to license your content. How does this work? It's simple. Invest in Fiverr, invest in whatever you need to invest in. And if somebody comes to you and says, listen, as a distributor, never give your content to a distributor. That's the advice I would give
Sorry,
everybody.
can you define distributor? It's very important.
I'm sorry,
no,
I'm
when
hitting.
you say distributor,
I'm sorry, I'm hitting
excuse me,
distributors
there's a
here.
distributor here. Moses is here. So,
Okay.
define distributor.
I mean aggregators.
Okay,
Even
aggregators.
distributors. Right?
So we
Okay,
need to
distributors are distributor. Wait, I'm coming. Let me define distributors. So distributors are people that on your behalf, right, negotiate with a platform.
Authorized to.
Authorized to negotiate.
Legally authorized.
So to say. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what it means. You know,
Yes.
people, somebody that is authorized.
Anybody that doesn't have
Is the mic.
authorization is not a distributor.
Okay,
Yes.
let me give you an example.
Correct.
I don't want to mention names. Okay, fine. Okay, there's a big distributor, an African distributor, that approached me, or is a distributor. They call themselves distributor. I've seen them in markets. You even know them. Approached me and said, "Listen, I've got list of content for sale, right? Many of them Nigerian content, many of them South African content, and some of the ones that I know, even the producers. I spoke to the producers directly. But where I'm going is this. Now, I got to the stage where I'm so strict about documentation, and that's why I guess I'm like the gatekeeper for where I work, right? And I said, listen, guys, I need proof of ownership of this content. And the guy kind of bulldozed me, tried to intimidate me. I said, listen, I'm a Nigerian. You can't intimidate me. You can intimidate some other people. I need proof of ownership and all that. The guy went as far as sending an email to my group CEO who's sitting in the US. I said, you're just joking because this guy will not even read your email. And you understand? So where I'm going is that eventually when he now send those documents, right, distribution agreements, proof of ownership, he doesn't even have rights to distribute those content. The rights that he has to distribute those content is for Francophone countries. And he was trying to sell to me for Anglophone countries.
I hope it's not what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Continue.
Then also, in addition to that, even those rights are expired. You understand? So that's a challenge. So that's why I always say, and he has those physical files with him, not just the title, he has the physical files. So if I had gone ahead with that deal, he would have delivered that content to me, and I've been in trouble.
So what
I'm saying is this. So as a distributor, if I mention their name, I will mention that they are one of the leading distributors in Africa, but I won't mention their name. So the question now is, that's why I use the word blanket word distributor, either aggregator or distributor. Somebody is distributing your content. So never give them your physical files. Let them do all the negotiations on your behalf. When it's time to deliver, let them tell you where to deliver the content to, and you deliver the content directly.
It's not
and by that, wait, I'm coming. It's debatable, but that's my own solution to this. By that, you can track where your content is going, and you can track whether somebody is selling your content behind you, and you are not getting returns. So those are the two challenges I think that needs to happen for us to really for producers, and as an acquisition person, that's what I'm facing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So
quickly on that note, why I even suggested this is that having worked for international studios, right? I never used to. So the studios, I had distributors. The same company, I have distributors that interface with the studios that sell our content in Africa. We don't give them physical files. We never used to give them physical files. They go and do those deals. Once they finish, I deliver the content directly. So that's the model that I've worked for Disney, that has worked for Viacom, and I think we should start looking at that direction.
Let me remind you that you're talking to producers, independent producers, who may not have the capacity to invest in technology. We are talking about delivery. Wait, let me finish, please. It's not everybody that is a shiller here. There are a lot of people. There's a lot of people who are just, starting, and they need to start from somewhere. And starting from somewhere means they definitely need to ship DVDs, right? There's cost of DVD, there's cost of shipping. So how are they supposed to manage that entire process? So that's why I'm saying that it's not as easy. When you have a structure in place where you can deliver by Xperia, by FTP, yes, then you can begin to say, okay, producers need to do that. But let's actually look at the reality.
WeTransfer has made it one of the easiest way of transferring documents. So you can't say if you produce your content, you obviously had some form of capital investment in it. It is your duty to warehouse your IP. Do not give it out.
Okay. Exactly. Sorry, Ijoma, one point. For example, in Kenya, my friends in Kenya here, if you send hard drive to Kenya, it could spend 2 months at customs. we need to face reality. From next year, VooClip is not going to take hard drive from anybody anymore. Because in other markets, we don't even take hard drive. It's only in Africa, and I made a case for it. That's why we're still taking hard drives. So what I'm saying is this, the reality has done a lot. I spent a lot of money clearing hard drives with customs. Even our hard drive came in a week ago. I wasn't in the country. Nobody could pay for it. I had to pay from here for customs to release those hard drives. So already I've licensed those content. I shouldn't pay extra money to get your content, right? So those are the limiting factors. So we have to face reality.
Moses, I want to say something, but let me allow Moses to say something. Please, can you give me the mic?
All right. I think you make a very, very strong, point, and it's hard to fault your point. One of the biggest issues that we've also faced is there's an integrity deficit, like literally, largely in the industry. Even producers given to assistant directors or given to people that say they have networks and have contacts. But let's not, and this is not also a sales speech. Let's not delegitimize the, role of a distributor, a competent, distributor that has shown track, and has the resources to warehouse some of this IP. It all boils down to the agreements that have been signed, and a good distributor will indemnify you, for example. A good distributor, I know those are intricate, they will indemnify you. There are clauses that will come in place to ensure that the risk is kind of managed between both parties, and so, look, whilst I would advocate for distributors to be producers to be knowledgeable and know about, how distribution works, I would say let the specialists do what they do well. I don't imagine when you expand your business and you want to get 2,000 or 4,000 titles, you'll be dealing with individuals, each and every one. I don't see the viability, but again, you can say there's a place for technology. So I just feel like there's a place for specialization and professionalism in each of those, critical roles in the value chain.
Yes.
And we should continue to advocate and push for, honesty and integrity in our dealings. I think that's the key part.
So really, from a distributor's perspective, I think it's important to just add to what Moses said, because when you talk about a distribution company, I've sent contracts to Sheila and she sent it to her lawyer. She will not touch it. And she will come back and say, this is what my lawyer is saying. That is a cost. So you send also materials, and then she says, this is her QC team handling it. It's another cost. So my point is this, and that's because she has a production/distribution company. So she's not all about production. She has put in place the infrastructure needed, or the structure rather, needed to be able to distribute. Just like Film One, you send contract to them, they have a legal department to be able to take it. So it's very important that we talk about the theory of transferable expertise, which means you're a producer, please face your production. You are a distributor, face your distribution. I tell everybody who cares to listen to me, I am not a producer, but I'm learning from mistakes of producers in case of the day I decide to enter production, because I will not put out my product and it comes back and it's not accepted. No.
Can I quickly comment?
Yes.
Look, I mean, you saw in Emeka Mba's presentation in terms of the role of distributors gradually dwindling, right?
Yes.
And we see the impact of Netflix even coming to the market directly and speaking to producers of content.
Yes.
So we need to balance whatever advice we're giving out in the sense that producers must also develop their expertise in delivering content electronically. Producers must develop...
That's if they are self-distributing.
No. I'm talking about...
No, we have to differentiate it.
I know.
If they are self-distributing like Sheila is doing, then I can understand. But if not, why spend that money when you have a distributor?
Yeah, I understand. Look, what I'm trying to say is this. I'm looking at the trend, the emerging trend within the industry. A lot of guys, it's just like I was telling somebody, a lot of things have changed because a lot of platforms now are coming straight and engaging with producers. They go to meet, they go to Discomp, and they're meeting producers directly. That's the reality. And that's the reality. So what we need to do is to educate also producers directly. In such instances, how do you manage it?
Okay.
You understand?
All right. I want to go to Dawn quickly. Dawn is representing Choma from Envivo. She was here, but unfortunately she has an emergency and she had to run out. Choma is the co-founder of Envivo, which is also a technology company that is rolling out content and education, as well as other services. So, and Dawn is the chief content officer at Envivo. You're in the midst of a lot of acquisitions going on right now, and I just want you to share with us what are some of the things that producers need to know, like if you're going to get content and all that. I think it's very important for us to understand that as well.
Thank you very much. I think one of the interesting things is that when you come out of the cinema space, you don't really appreciate the significance of the cinema within the value chain. And I think one of the key things about the cinema is that the cinema gives you a presence, and the cinema gives you an history. And if you're bringing a film to the market space without going through the cinema, you need to explain, you need to justify your presence, and you need to show an history. And I think, and with the way technology is going right now, not all films need to go to cinema. So which means that it is important for producers to have a presence. And which means that, and it goes back to what the other colleagues on the panel have already said. So with what we're doing in Envivo now, a lot of people are throwing a lot of content at us. And a lot of these people I don't know. I really don't know. But a lot of people, these people are actually making a lot of great content, but not content that can really go to the cinemas and what have you. And what you quickly realize is that the producing spectrum in Nollywood is very vast. It's very vast. And you also realize that, and it's a very horrible thing to say, but the producer market is also not very much developed. So, and that has huge ramifications in terms of everything that everybody's been talking about, from legal integrity to all those things. And the role of distributors now starts to become very, very important, and also aggregators, especially for us, because I'm an information guy. My background is journalism. So when it comes to information, when it comes to everything that has to do with paperwork, I'm a stickler to it. And you discover that, I was about to transfer 20 million naira to a producer to make a film for me. And this guy I don't know him before, but this guy makes amazing content. The guy is in the East. So, and the guy did not have a bank account, like a corporate bank account. And it went, and I had a conversation before I realized how silly the experience had become, because it's almost like an hour on why I was trying to convince this guy that he should have a corporate account. And he was trying to convince me to speak to Fidelity Bank to send him the money. And I'm like, Fidelity Bank gave a bank guarantee for 1.7 billion. You think they will send you money to a non-corporate account? That gives you the psyche of some of the challenges that exist in the industry. So we still need aggregators, irrespective of what technology is saying. We still need distributors, irrespective of what technology is saying, because the market space, Nollywood is no different to agriculture. It's subsistence filmmaking at its core. People making films to eat and then make another film. So with all the challenges that exist within that space, we need these traditional structures. Yes, the world is growing and a lot of amazing things are happening, but you need your distributors, you need your lawyers, you need, even music. And there's a panel with Pinuka and the rest of it afterwards. If you know the wahala you go through just as an aggregator with just whose music is this? Where did you get it from? Even the sound effects, whatever. So everything we're saying down here remains very, very important. But if there's any key thing I would say is, filmmakers, you need to have a presence. I need to be able to go online and find out who you are. You cannot just be making films and nobody knows who you are. You need to have a presence, especially if you're not going to the cinema. And if it's from creating a YouTube film and making little films so you can prove to me that you have a following, you have an audience, that helps to replicate the lack of the presence taking films to cinemas give you. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So there's thank you. So there's somebody who's sitting here looking like a forgotten child. And really, what he represents actually looks like a forgotten genre. He is into animations, and he insisted that we never talk about them. Yes, it's a genre. We talk about TV series, we talk about feature films. Who is talking about animations? So, and that is why he is sitting here, because there's a lot. I'm sure you know that Nigeria has the biggest animation industry in Africa currently. So I want to understand something. As animators, how are you guys making money? I've been asked to come and speak about distribution animation. I said, let me tell you guys the truth. I don't know how I've yet to figure out how these guys are making money, who is buying, right? I've got 1 or 2 inquiries in the past, but really, it's so blurry, like it's so bleak right now. So I see young people so passionate about animation. How are you guys making money?
Thanks for thanks for giving us the chance to be on the stage, to actually have a voice in the upper echelon of Nigerian entertainment, which is film and TV. To fix the first statement, South Africa is the biggest animation industry in Africa. We're light years behind South Africa. Light years. I mean, when you look at the production capacity that they emit annually, it's incredible, and the quality that they do it on. But in terms of Nigeria, I feel like it's a sleeping giant, and it's an industry that's worth billions of dollars, which, because we are not ready to cross the small hurdles, we stop ourselves from achieving the mass of green that's in front of us. Take it for example, the capacity to produce animation in Nigeria has grown incredibly, I'll say by 45% in the past 4 years. That means currently the skill base and the skill set to produce world-class animation like anywhere in the world is on an all-time high in Nigeria, more than ever. And we're sleeping on it because we have the ability to produce that animation at the cheapest cost than we would ever do it. Because when you think about producing a second of animation, if I'm to convert it to local currency, we're talking about 30,000 naira for a second of animation. And then it depends on the kind of craft of animation you're doing. If you're doing 2D, or if you're doing a more intricate type of animation, it could even go more expensive. But at the moment, we can produce at 10% of that number, which is about 3%, so which is about 3,000 naira. So we're at a position where we can actually take advantage of animation. And from a distribution perspective, animation is the only genre that I can guarantee you will sell across the world without you being bothered about the formats, without you being bothered about the direction of the storytelling. It's gonna sell because it's a cartoon and there's a kid everywhere. And when there's not a kid everywhere, there's an imagination that is whimsical and is in the clouds everywhere. So it's also the medium or the form of media which we can use in telling a lot of stories that we can't tell right now, which is our mythological stories, our fantasy epics. You'll find out that Nollywood has gone into a cycle of telling the same monotonous narratives because we don't exactly go beyond our production barricades, because we don't do animation, So in terms of how we make money, how Vortex has managed to survive, thus far is we have in-flight deals with South African Airways, where we did the show with Accelerate TV, Shebi That's How, with a BA, and that's on the planes. And because of the cost of production, we understand that that's always a barrier to entry. You think about making a movie for about 30 million naira, maybe 50, and then you think about an animation, and then you're seeing that you have not even gone halfway through the animation, and it's costing you the same amount, and you're like, oh, let's just stick to film. I understand that predicament. But at the same time, animation we don't really need to make movies at this stage of the industry where we are. There's short-form content, there's bite-sized content, which can still be monetized actively. When you look at platforms like, what's the Asian version of Netflix? What are those guys called? iFlix. They have a whole category for bite-sized content, snackable content, and they acquire. And currently, we're even in discussions with them on stuff that we can do. But there is so much opportunity for mini-sized content in an absence of the funding to produce feature-length content or animated series type content, which is about a half-hour show. I feel like it's now more than ever, with the skill base and the capacity that we have, it's a time to bring our head outside of the norm of what we're used to producing and take a look into the alternate reality of what we can do with animation, and also the potential that we can draw from it. One thing that makes animation expensive and time-consuming, what makes animation expensive is the time consumed to produce the animation, because time is money, right? But one thing that causes that time extension is the pipelines and the method of producing. So what we're doing right now is even reintroducing new softwares that come with inbuilt templates and inbuilt systems. You might not understand where I'm coming from, but a template basically is we don't really need to redesign this entire building anymore. There are softwares that give us this building already. Okay. There are resource farms and resource markets that we can buy all these models. You know, models with braids, models with long hair, models with short hairs, models with afro, models with mohawks. And we need to apply this technology to accelerate the pace at which we produce the animation. Because the moment that we accelerate the pace that we produce the animation, and the render technology that we use to render the final animation, we cut down the cost.
All right.
And that's the future.
Okay.
You know, so it's really not that far-fetched anymore.
All right.
And that's really why it was important when I was mentioning to her, I sent IJ like a message and I told her like, yo, we need to do an animation panel. And she was like, oh yeah, we'll put you guys on a Friday, the last day, you know, at the back of the program. I'm like, no, you know, we need to actually be on a stage where they're listening and talking about distribution. They're talking about the issues surrounding this, because we have the same unique problems. And if we really want to tap into that billion-dollar industry, like the Avengers, like the Marvels, you know, we need to step into animation. She mentioned VFX, and Nigeria doesn't even scratch the surface of VFX in their films. And that is keeping us in the genre of making half-baked action films, right? Or making drama, or making the same genre of movies continuously, because we can't go beyond, because our VFX industry is stunted. And it's not the lack of the ability of the skilled people to make these amazing VFX high-quality films, but it's just that the industry players, which we are counting on to take a look at us, are not looking at us.
Thank you. They're going to look at you after this. Trust me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So in case you're looking for, I know that somebody mentioned to me about investing in animations, and he's sitting down, he's listening to you. So the future is bright. Okay?
Amen.
All right. Thank you so much. We need to just take 1-2 questions because we're running behind time. Juliet. And also, thank you for that correction. Nigeria is not the biggest, one of the biggest. I'm sure if we have the kind of structure, second largest. If we had the structure that South Africa has, I'm sure we'll be far, far, far. There's a lot of funding going into animations, and these guys are just hustling. There's nobody supporting them. So, guys, well done. So let's quickly take just one question.
Yeah, it's about animation. Actually, I'm really passionate about that, and you are saying, how are we making money with animation? Compared to what Moses was saying, you know, when you produce a film or a series, the lifetime of this program is going to be very short. Animation, 50 years, 100 years. So you're going to recoup your expenses by selling and reselling and reselling. Point one. Yeah. Point two, Africa Black animation, known. Don't you want your children to relate to your stories? So many players now, they are broadcasting children's channel. They are starving, guys, for African animation content. All of them. Canal Plus about to launch 2 children's channels in Ethiopia. You know, DSTV, Guli Africa. They are all starving. They want to grab African animation content, so few, so little. And it's a part of your heritage. This is a part to tell your children about their history. And animation is the key to protect this heritage and to make that real.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And last point, with animation, you do apps, you do casual gaming. As per today, the mobile games in Africa, all these games coming from the African production is less than 1%. By 2022, Africa is going to be the first consumer on mobile content and game worldwide. Don't you think you have a huge avenue to make money there?
Yeah.
It is. It is.
Thank you. Thank you. Please pass the mic to Prince.
Good afternoon. My name is Prince Tikara from SGI. I just want to add to what she said. Actually, the animation and game industry is twice the size of Hollywood, Bollywood, Nollywood all put together. It has so much potential. And for example, Hasbro, a toy making company, has just bought Peppa Pig for $4 billion. Exactly. And I'm sure it will still sell on to the next person because it's increasing in value. It hasn't been touched, that space. I think if you invest in this space, I think there's a huge potential for higher returns on investment because the life cycle of that content is, as you said, a very long time.
It's infinite. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Dami Olivia. I'm a scriptwriter. Now, I know every time we've been talking in panels, everybody's talking to producers. Producers do this, producers do that. But then when it comes to distribution, which is, of course, how you get the content out there if you're not going to do it yourself, you need to have a situation whereby information is just readily available. Like, I don't want a situation whereby I have to be calling different people to find out who to talk to in a different distribution company. I need distribution companies to have websites and just let us know how much percent is going to be taken, what we have to do. Do we have to submit here? What do we have to do? Is there a portal? Is there this? Is there that? Because it's tough for us to be producing and not be able to openly do things. And I know Moses was talking about integrity, which is one of the toughest things to do. Because even me as a writer, when I go somewhere and I sit down, I want to draw a contract, people are like, don't you trust me? No, I don't. I don't. So I don't trust the distribution company. Not like there's anything wrong with you. I just don't trust people to take my intellectual property and not want to make money off it. So for you to be able to trust yourselves, you have to put information out there. So what are distribution companies doing to just put the info out there so that I don't need to go through heaven and earth to find out what it is? For instance, can I just readily go online and find out how much percentage they're going to take from me if they're going to distribute my work? That's a problem. So that is where integrity starts from. If the people who say they have integrity are not showing me what it is, that's going to be tough. So my question is, information, can we just get it?
Okay, very simple. Yes, you can. And yes, information exists. And I'd like to speak for Film One from a Film One point of view. And I think it was seconded yesterday. I think in terms of putting macro information about the industry at large, I think Film One leads the way in doing that. And thank you very much. That's such a relief. Thank you. So we do that. Yes. No worries. Yes. Sure. Okay. Okay. Website. Absolutely. Yes, we do. Actually, we do, including all the services we provide. So that means very good questions, and thank you for helping us sell our market today, self. So we do have our website, and I imagine any serious distribution company here has their website. We do have our services. I would say one thing though, in terms of our commercial terms, there's an element of it that is business intelligence that we'll rather do on a one-on-one basis or send to you via email. We'd always do that as client services anyway. All right, but general information about our services are available. And we're very much with you in terms of providing as much information and as much data for you to make informed choices or informed decisions. And we'll take all that feedback on board. But if you go to our website right now, you'll see what services we provide and what we can do. www.film1ng.com.
Okay, so honestly, I really don't know. This question is turning my tummy somehow because when it comes to distribution, no deal is the same. I'm wondering, what kind of information are you going to put out? Because, yes, it's very difficult, because the way I'm going to deal with you is different to the way I'm going to deal with another person. Yes, that's a good question. The why is, because everybody is not on the same level.
But I think what she needs is processes. If you put together just the process, not the percentage, but the entire process.
She asked specific
No,
questions.
I'm not criticizing you. I'm just saying that's what we are.
So when you say process, for me, process will be, I screen your film, right? And then, yes, okay. So the process will be, I screen your film, and it's acceptable. I respond to you with a deal memo, and then from the deal memo, I go to contracts. From contracts, we talk about payment. From payment, we talk about delivery. Is that what you want to know?
May I interject? Sorry.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, I think that's what they need.
No, I don't think that's what they need. I'm so sorry. My name is Isioma Idibe, and I'm the head of media and entertainment law at Punuka Attorneys and Solicitors. And I felt it was actually very important to respond to this because I absolutely understand what she's asking for. I know there's an organization called FDAN, which is the Organization for Distributors. Now, if you go to other clients, where you have what you call like industry associations, they should have a website where you can go to and you get a basic idea of what you would encounter if you were to engage with a distributor. So whilst you may not have specific as to this is exactly what percentage you get from this distributor, it would have information about it can be a range between 5 to 10%. So I think that the answer to this question should have been that there is an organization called FDAN. We are working on creating a website which would have a short list of accredited distributors, and when you come on our website, you can have information as to what the process of distributing your film is. And that's how you start to put in structures in an industry. So that's the answer.
Isioma, thank you for answering that question according to your opinion. That's fine. That's cool. That's great. FDAN has just been formed, and the appropriate communication will go out, just like you had it for CAN. But yeah, that's your opinion on how it should be. I don't disagree, but I think it's just a little premature because FDAN is literally just announcing, just coming up.
Okay, so like you have MCOAN. We have MCOAN, right? Okay. Microphone. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So sorry, I heard you saying list of distributors. In the first place, not all the list of distributors that you have. Remember, there is National Film and Video Censors Board. So if you put names that people are even not supposed to deal with, then they must have been dealing with wrong this thing. I think when you're building your website, it's a good one. Always let people know there is a standing government agency that they need to pass through.
Okay.
So it's like receiving a film, and you think you want to sell it, you want to distribute it, without asking for classification certificate. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.